Now, when I was in school, there were a lot of people who doubted that the Holocaust existed. There still are a few. When I was in school in the 50s, college in the 50s, there were a lot of Holocaust survivors who had not written and were not able to bring themselves to talk about their experiences. We're fortunate to have one such survivor this evening. It's very interesting with the Holocaust survivors because you always hear a different story, whether they're from the same town, from the same village, in the same ghetto, maybe even the same concentration camp. All of their experiences are different. I sincerely hope that you find tonight's program worthwhile and beneficial. I'd like to call to the podium Dr. Hannah Bohr, who will introduce tonight's speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to introduce Mr. Kadenau, and his wife is here as well. Welcome to our student, faculty, and guests. My job is to give a very brief introduction of Mr. Kadenau, and you will hear his fascinating survival story. So, Mr. Howard Kadenau was a young boy living in a small town in Poland in the region now known as Belarus, or in English, White Russia. He, his parents, and younger brother lived in a relatively normal middle-class life prior to the political and military upheaval that took place starting in 1939. When Poland was attacked by Germany and the Soviet Union, that region came under the occupation of the Soviet. Since 1939, life changed dramatically for the Kadenau family, but not as drastically or as tragically as what was to come in 1941 when Nazi forces took control over Russia. In April 1942, the Nazis murdered both his parents while he and his brother were in hiding. Howard tells his personal story of his family tragedy, heroism, and survival during World War II. As a former partisan who fought the Nazis and their collaboration himself, Howard's fascinating story includes the heroic struggle of the resistant fighters known as partisans, especially the Jewish partisans among them. He will also describe how he spent the years after the war in Europe and in the USA until the present days. I feel very fortunate that all of us are here today to hear and learn from our survivors' heroism and story. So I want to welcome Mr. Howard Kadenau.
This nice lady almost told you the whole story. But I think I have more that I could share with you. As it was said, I was born in Eastern Poland in 1929. We lived in a small town. My parents, my brother and I, 4 of us. While I went, the town that we lived in had no good schools. So my mother sent me to a larger town to her mother and family. There was a school, a better school, and she wanted me to learn Hebrew. There was a Hebrew school. She took me there, and I attended this Hebrew school called Tarbut School. My grandmother was very good to me, and but I still missed my parents, especially my mother. She was a nurse and very smart lady. At least I thought so. And she, like I said, she was a nurse, and my father was dealing in lumber. So, like it is said, we lived a middle class life. In 1935. In 1935, the president of Poland died. And a few years later, they closed the school because the new president was not as friendly to us, to Jews, as was that one that passed. They closed the school, and I had to attend, instead of the Hebrew school, I attended Polish school. In 1938, the Soviet Union and the Germans had agreed to attack Poland and split it in half. And that's what it did. In 1939, the Soviet Union came from the east, and the Nazis or Germans came from the west, and they split Poland in two. Life changed to the worse. My grandparents had a business that they sold sewing machines, bicycles, and at that time, I don't know if anybody here knows about the gramophones, you know, RCA Victor with a big. But anyway, and they had a nice sort of business. And when the Soviet Union came in, nobody was allowed to have a business. They liquidated all businesses. Nobody was allowed to own any land. Everything went to a collective. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Everything came to a collective. Everyone worked for the government. There was no private anything. Religion was strictly forbidden. They were all they were communists, of course, and atheists. So you couldn't go to a synagogue or church or mosque or anywhere. It was strictly forbidden. But it wasn't as bad for us, for Jewish people, as in 1941. 1941, the Germans attacked the Soviet Union. As a matter of fact, it was the 22nd of June, 1941. And life changed to the worst. It's unbelievable what they did to us. It's unbelievable. I can't even express it. It's impossible for me to tell you. I'm going to try, but it's very hard. Because people should not do that to people. Even animals don't do that to themselves. Right away, as they you know, they went so quick, so fast. And they came into our little town and started organizing police and stuff like that. And they went farther, but they had police collaborators. They collaborated with them. There is not a country in Europe, I don't think there's any country in Europe that did not have any collaborators. All of Europe had collaborators with the Nazis. Those collaborators were just as bad as the Nazis themselves. And right away, they started arresting the Jewish people that they thought were leading the Jewish community. And arresting was not enough. They arrested them, we shot them. And we watched it. This was up at the local collaborating police mostly. Because we all had in that little town, we all had one German called the commandant. And he assured us that, you know, you're good Jews, we're not going to do anything to you, they misled us. Everything they told us was a lie. Even some of our neighbors turned against us, especially drunks. And there were quite a few. The houses in the little town were low. There was no second floor. At night, we used to buy young kids or drunks and throw stones to the window. We had to board up all the windows, which we did. We lived 24 hours at night. We didn't sit all day. We weren't allowed, we were not, walking the streets was dangerous. We had a star, a yellow star, front and back, so they could see us. We walked the street and took a big chance that something will happen to us. We communicated with the backyards. As a matter of fact, one time I went. Thank you. One time I went to a teacher, a rabbi. I went to the backyard to get, take some lessons from him. And one lousy kid took a slingshot and hit me in the head, knocked me out. Some lady, Jewish lady, came by and she saw me laying there on the ground, so she took me into her house and helped me out. Otherwise, I don't know what would happen because I was bleeding very, very intensely. Now, they misled us, like I said, they misled us. They told us that we had no communication. We could not communicate with any other town. A lot of towns were already, they called it, the Nazis called it a action. They had a special group that did the killing. They were called Einsatzgruppen. They consisted of SS, SD, gendarmes, and collaborators. And they used to do the killing, and not only did they do the killing, but they had all the rights. They ordered the regular army to help them. If they didn't have enough people to kill us, they ordered the army soldiers, and they came and helped them. All the generals knew what was happening, but after the war, they all denied it. They never knew about it, but they did. It's well documented that they knew. But they did all kinds of things to us. It's actually undescribable. I cannot describe it because I went through it, and I still can't believe that people could do that to other people, no matter who the people are. They did it to Jews. They did it to the Roma, and they did it to people that were sick. There were those Einsatzgruppen. The Einsatzgruppen were pretty well educated. They weren't dummies, and that's even worse. But anyway, we endured all that. I got beatings on the street, beating everywhere. My little brother was 8 years old. He got beat up a few times. And my father, of course, my father worked all the Jews. They organized a Jewish committee called the Judenrat. That Jewish committee had to deliver whatever they desired, whatever the Nazis, the SS, and the police, whoever it was. Whatever they desired, they gave the order to the Judenrat, and the Judenrat had to get it for them, from the Jewish people. They said, if you will not deliver what we were asking for, 100 Jews will be killed. And they kept their word. If you didn't give them what they wanted, they killed 100 Jews. Like I said, I cannot describe everything that they did to us. You know, I was a kid, I was 12 years old at that time. And like I said, my brother was 8. And this one, they used to, people think that all the Jews were killed in the concentration camps. Yeah, most of them were. But there were also people killed like my parents. It was too expensive for them to transport the Jews from the small towns to the concentration camps. So they killed them on the spot. Like I said, they called it an action. They used to come in one morning, everything in the morning, and around a Jewish holiday, before a few days or a few days after a holiday. And used to come in the Einsatzgruppen, and with the help of the local collaborators, the police, they used to go from house to house and or shoot on the spot, like they did my mother, or used to take him to a place and tell him they tell him to make a grave, you know. They used to tell them to dig a grave for themselves and shoot them there. And they had different, they did different actions. Some actions they came the first time and they made sure that everybody's caught and killed. Or they used to come in and let's say there's 500 Jews or 1,000 Jews, they used to take like half of them, they caught, they killed them, and then they waited. They waited about a week or a month and they used to come back and finish them. This one day, my brother was outside and he came running into the house and said to my mother, there is something going on outside. I heard shooting. My mother, being wise, she hid us in a bunch of straw behind the house. My brother and I. About 10 minutes later, we had a bang. They didn't knock on the door, they broke the door up open, and they came in and they asked my mother where the rest of the family was. My mother, of course, didn't tell them. So they beat her to death, almost, and then they shot her. We lay in there, we didn't know what to do, we couldn't do anything. But one collaborator found us. He saw us laying there, and he said, go in a little deeper because we can see you. Then he came back to the house and they asked him, who did you speak to? And he said, I didn't speak to no one, I was singing. Anyway, we went out to see what happened, my brother and I, and when we got out, we approached my mother, was laying on the floor in a pool of blood, dead. We couldn't help it, so we just left her laying there because we couldn't do a thing. Because it's not that they killed my mother, they were looking for us too. But anyhow, we were there, I think, two days and 2 nights hidden under that straw. Then we heard Jewish, speaking Jewish. So we had no choice, but we came out to see who it was. And when we got out, we saw a light at at the blacksmith's house. See, they were still using horses at that time, so they needed a blacksmith, and so because of that, they didn't kill him. So his family remained alive. So my brother and I and my grandfather, as a matter of fact, we went to that house, and like I said, they stopped. They killed so many that they stopped. They stopped and they waited. They came back later. I think a month later and killed the rest. But anyway, one of my aunts was hidden in a neighbor's house somewhere, so she didn't get killed. And so she came out to her house, and like I said, they were waiting to kill us. They didn't kill us right away. The ones that they killed were dead. So they killed my mother, and they burned my father alive the same day. So then, my aunt made sure that we go to a different town. We sort of knew that it's not happened yet. So we went to a different town where I had two aunts. And there, in the town we lived in happened in April, and the town that we went to happened in September, right between the Jewish Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur. My uncle was very handy, and they owned a house. It was a front that they had a store, but there was no more store, so they lived in that part, and in the back, they had two people living there. So there was a room in between the two apartments. So what he did, he somehow managed to close that room up so you couldn't see it. My uncle, he was the president of the Judenrat, you know. My uncle sat by the window and he seen something going on there and he recognized them because he had things to do with him before. He was the Judenrat president. They used to give him orders to, you know, to deliver such and such things for him. And by the way, everyone, especially collaborators, they used to love to do something to the Jews. So once in a while, they used to get drunk, and this one night, one of them killed 54 Jews, women, children, little children, mostly women and little children, as a matter of fact. So, like I said, my uncle came into that room and told us they came to kill us. So we locked ourselves in there. We didn't have any food. There was no room for anything. We had a little baby about a year old, and we were afraid that the baby would cry. The baby's father was there, the father and another sister. We didn't want to let her in there, but you know, we see a little baby, and we know she's going to get killed. She's going to get killed. So we took her in there, and the mother said if she will cry, she will smother her to death, as to not give us all away. But anyhow, we somehow survived there, and one night we got out of there, but the men left after the first night. All the men left, except one. One of my uncles, the one that built this hiding place. And they were supposed to come and pick us up, but we knew that they couldn't come back there. But anyway, after a few nights, we got out of there, and on all four, it was a moonlight. It was like day, it's light like during the day. And with the kids, we had quite a few kids there. And because, like I said, it was very dangerous because of the police station being next door. But somehow, with God's help, we made it to some woods. In the next morning, that morning, while we were there in the woods, we heard German voices with dogs looking for Jews. We knew that some of them got out. So but this was a miracle that they didn't find us. It was a miracle because we heard the dogs were like real near us. So we did go deeper and deeper into the woods. The woods there are hundreds of miles long and wide. We can go in from here to there and get lost. There are many people that did that, you know, they went to wash something or whatever, couldn't come back. One of my uncles and my aunt went to wash some clothes and we didn't find them for 2 days. And another thing, it was between Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, and it was very, very cold. And it was raining cats and dogs. It didn't stop. We didn't have any clothes, we didn't have any food, we had nothing. With the kids crying, well, we couldn't help them. I was a kid myself and I cried too. But anyhow, somehow we made it there. At that time, there were 80 partisans. I don't know if you people all know what partisans are. Partisans were freedom fighters. As a matter of fact, there were 30,000 Jewish partisans. Not in one place, but scattered all over Europe. Yeah, partisans were resistance. But anyhow, there were 80 partisans at that time, near us, wherever we landed, was 80 partisans. And while they were there, they helped us out with some food. They had guns, so with the gun you can get something. Without a gun, people would say, get lost. Some were very nice and gave us some food, but most of them did not. So we did all kinds of things, including stealing. We used to steal stuff. And we lived mostly on potatoes. Why potatoes? Because the farmers used to bury potatoes in the ground for the winter. You know, so that the potatoes should be, you know, should not spoil. So this one time, we went to a place where there were a lot of potatoes, supposedly, and we lowered my brother. My brother, like I said, was 8 years old. We lowered my brother into that hole. And he's crying, hollering, get me up. Get me up, there's dead people here. So we got him out, of course. But can you imagine a little boy getting into a hole where there's dead people? And all this, what I told you up to now, this is all minor, what they did to us. It's all minor. They did even worse things that I can't even talk about. Now, the same day when my mother was killed, my father was burned alive. The same day. They took 50 Jewish people to put them into a barn and to put the barn on fire. All 50 were burned alive. After about a week or 10 days, those partisans, the 80 that I was talking about, left. Some of our people went with them. Now we had nobody to help us. But somehow we were locked out because 2 of those partisans remained. They didn't go along. So they joined us in a camp, you know, like a camp in the woods. They joined, the 2 joined us. And there was a big help because they had guns, so we could get food. Now, I wanted to join the resistance. I wanted to join the partisans, but I was a little boy. I was even small for my age. I was 13 at that time. I went to the partisans, after a while, I don't know, about 3-4 weeks, a whole bunch of partisans arrived to the area where we were hiding. Hundreds of them came. And I wanted to join them. So I went and I begged them, you know, I want to join you because I want to, first of all, I want revenge. Second of all, I want to save my life. And I want to save my brother's life. But they laughed at me, you know. Little kid, what can you do? Well, I told them, look, I know my way around in the woods because of my former father, you know. They didn't listen. Didn't listen. Many times I went there to beg them. First of all, I didn't have no gun. So they didn't have guns there. They had enough for themselves, but to give anybody else, they didn't have it. So I tried to get one, and I didn't know how. But one of those guys, I begged the 2 guys that got left. One of them was a pretty nice fellow, and I begged him. I said, look, I know how to get a gun, but I need help. And he was nice, and he agreed. How would I get a gun? My uncle worked for a grease company. They made grease for the wagon wheels. Pardon? Yeah, he was working there for forced labor. So anyhow, once in a while, very seldom, I used to go there and bring him something to eat. So I knew when the guards change. They used to change our bicycles. So I took this Russian guy in to help me. So we went one evening, went to the place where my uncle used to work. He didn't work there anymore because the city was already eliminated. So we went there, and this, good enough, this one guy comes on a bicycle, and I take my slingshot. I learned it from the guy that hit me. I took my slingshot, and I hit him on the head, and he fell off. He fell off the bicycle. My friend took care of the rest. He dragged them into the woods. He took off his boots. He took his gun, his pistol, and his watch. and we couldn't use the bicycle because, you know, we couldn't go on, we had to go, there was no streets in the woods. There was a street where he used to come from and go back, but otherwise there was no street. So we ran. Now the guy took my gun, was a new one, he took mine and gave me his old one. But a gun is a gun, I figured. It's better than nothing. He helped me. So I came again to those partisans and asked them again, I have a gun now. Can I join you? Guess what they did? They took away the gun and threw me out. But anyhow, I insisted. I came back and I insisted I want to become a partisan. And this one day, I was lucky. I see a gentleman that was the commissar of the brigade. There was a brigade of partisans. I see the commissar. A commissar was a political person that had the same say as the commander of the brigade. He was a nice man, and I begged him, and I don't remember, I probably cried. And he said, okay, I'll give you a try. I told him that I know the way around in the woods. I won't get lost. And not only will I won't get lost, I can lead the others. We had no compass or anything like that, you know. So he gave me a chance. He took me in, and my first thing was to go to town and get the news from our collaborators. Get the news that when the Germans are going to attack us, or when the trains are going to come by. And we used to dynamite it. Most of my job was dynamiting trains. We used to the railroads over there go through woods, almost totally through woods. So it was not that hard for us to get to the locomotive. We used to put them on and have a cord or whatever you call it, a wire here, and pull the wire. And the locomotive used to stand up like a horse, you know. But anyway, they got smarter. They knocked the woods out about a kilometer from the railroad, from the rail tracks, you know. So it was harder. It was harder to get there, but we got more sophisticated. We didn't have to pull anything. We just put it down, and we went away. So, and they also built bunkers along the railroad, big bunkers with dogs. So they used to, they killed many of us, more than before, because before we just come out of the woods and put the mine and ran, or pull the cord. But now we could not do it, but we still got to them. We dynamited many trains. What they also did, they had the locomotives. They surrounded the locomotive with steel, and not only that, they used to spit fire. When they felt that we were around, they used to spit fire, so we couldn't get too near. But anyhow, I did all kinds of things as a kid. And they gave me a gun. The gun was so tall, it was almost as tall as I was. So after a while, they realized it, and they gave me a submachine gun, 72 shots. The submachine gun was much shorter. Anyhow, I was there 2 winters, and the winters were the worst winters since they had records there. It was so cold. Snow was like, you could sink into the snow. But anyhow, I think people are stronger than iron. We survived. I survived as a kid, and it was not easy, I can tell you that. There's many stories that I can tell you from those partisans, but I'm not going to go into it because I don't have the time. Now, in 1944, the German army retreated. They came in 1941. When they came in, they were all spiffy looking, very spiffy, you know. They were singing on the trucks, and they looked like $1 million. But in 1944, when we were liberated, they ran like rats. We could not catch them. As a matter of fact, I didn't see too many. I seen some running, but not too many. That's how fast they ran. They ran faster back than when they came, and they ran pretty fast coming. I got out of the woods, and of course I missed school. So my aunt was alive; she was not killed. All the relatives on my mother's side were murdered. All of them. There was not one left. But on my father's side, there were a few left. My cousins, my uncles, everybody on my mother's side was murdered. So we got out of the woods, and like I said, I didn't have much schooling, of course. So my aunt found out that there was a school in a different town, and what is it? Yeah, a school of agronomy. Yeah, a school of agronomy. So it was very hard to get into the school, but since I had privileges, the partisans took over the whole. The army kept on going. The Red Army kept on going, and the partisans took over all the administration. Yeah, the partisans took over all the administrations in all towns and everywhere. So I went with a lady from our town was going there. She's going to be working in that school, so she took me along. And they registered me because, like I said, it was very hard to get into the school. But she, like I said, I had privileges there. So in about 1 year, they gave me a job. In the Soviet Union at that time was everything disorganized. The highways, you could not communicate. You couldn't go far because the highways were a mess. So everything there was a mess. For everything you had to stand in line. You couldn't buy anything anywhere. And when you sometimes we stood in line like the whole night. And when we came to the window, like soap for instance, and they tell me, "Нет, больше нет, there's no more, don't have any more." You stayed all night in line, and you come to the window, and they don't have it no more, it's gone. The whole thing was disorganized. To make me in charge of a job like I had to take away land from people because they weren't allowed to have any land. Take away land from the people and put it into a commune. So I actually I didn't do much because I didn't know what to do. I did not know what to do. I met a guy that was very experienced in agronomy, and he helped me. And every day at 5 p.m. I had to call the second secretary of the party in a different town and let him know what I did. But I didn't do anything. But this guy that I had with me, he told me what to do. He was very bright. And as a matter of fact, I used to drink a lot as a kid. Why would I drink? Because people that didn't, they wanted a favor. I should take their good land. If I take the land already, take the bad one. So they used to feed me and give me drinks. As a matter of fact, the partisans also forced us to drink. They thought, especially in the winter, they thought they will have more guts. It's just the opposite, as far as I'm concerned, but nonetheless, we drank. So anyhow, they gave me the job, and of course I hated it, but I had to do it. And there, if you didn't do whatever they tell you, there's a jail. So my aunt, the one that remained alive, sister of my father's sister, one day she came and she said, "We're going to the West." How can we go to the West from Russia, from the Soviet Union? At that time you couldn't go anywhere. They didn't let you. You couldn't go nowhere. But somehow they made a law that all people that lived in Poland up to from 1939 can return. So we lived in Poland. We applied, and they gave us permission to leave Russia, Soviet Union at that time. So we went to Poland. From Poland, we had to pay some people, and from Poland we went to East Germany. Berlin, East Berlin. Berlin was split in four at that time. It was United States, Soviet Union, France, and Britain. But you could go from one sector to another, free, but not Jews. They used to watch us, you know. But anyhow, so they brought us to East Berlin. And like I said, you could go from one sector to another. So an American rabbi, he somehow found out that the Russians are going to take us to Siberia. From East Berlin, they could have. So overnight we disappeared, all of us. I don't know, there were a couple hundred of us. We disappeared, and then they came with the trucks to evacuate us, and we weren't there. From there we went to the British zone. From the British zone we got to the American zone, and the American zone had yeah, the American zone had displaced persons camps. So we got into a camp there. In Berlin. Berlin was in the middle of the Russian zone. So wherever you wanted to go, you had to go to the Russian zone. There was a crazy thing that they did, but nonetheless, that's what they did. Berlin was surrounded by the Russians. But nonetheless, the US Army and the British Army helped us to get over from the Russian zone to the first British and then the American. Well, that was already good, and so this displaced persons camp had no school. I organized a school there, but it wasn't enough. So my aunt said that she's going to bring me to Munich, Germany. There is a Hebrew school there. So that's what she did. She brought me to Munich, and I went to Hebrew school. Okay. All right. Well, anyhow, so I went to Hebrew school. I finished at high school, and I went to college. I went to college. I registered for medicine, but the medicine was overfilled. They wouldn't take me. It was overfilled by by soldiers that came back from the front. They preferred them than they preferred me. But anyhow, I didn't know what to do, so I matriculated. I got registered for chemical engineering. I figured it's going to be some subject that we need in medicine, so they will recognize this semester. And after one semester, it was so. They recognized it. And I went to medical school. I went to medical school for 2.5 years about. Then my big luck, I had a car accident that put me to the hospital for 3/4 of a year. So I forgot everything. Yeah, I had my head got hurt. and I forgot most of the stuff. I had partial amnesia, and I forgot most of the stuff. And then in medicine, you got to remember a lot of stuff, especially in Germany. You got to know Latin. Here, you don't have to know Latin for medicine, because English is similar. The words are similar. You can recognize it. In German, it's entirely different. You got to know Latin. So I forgot that, and I forgot most of it, and then I didn't have the money to continue. And I met my wife. I met my wife when I was 56 years ago. That's when we got married, and I forgot school. Anyway, and so we have 2 children. One, my son is a lawyer, and my daughter is Assistant Secretary of State for political military affairs. As a matter of fact, she's now in Europe. She travels all over. She was double ambassador twice already. She had all kinds of, she worked in the White House. She was director for Europe and Eurasia. I don't know what it was, but that's what the title was. So, you know, I worked hard, but I made sure that my children are educated, and they are. My daughter went to, she was accepted in Harvard and Yale, but she chose University of Pennsylvania because there was a cousin of hers there. So, and then she went to school to Moscow, and she went to school to Oxford in England. And she went to Columbia University. She's overeducated. She's too smart for me. But anyway, so that's in short. That's in short my life. Anybody has questions? Shoot.
Hi guys, for those of you that know me, my name is Zachary Cherkover. I'm the president of the Alpha Epsilon fraternity here at Towson. And if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand now. Go back.
I want to thank you very much for this excellent lecture. And I apologize because after you answer my question, I've got to leave. There's a book called Why, written by Peter Hayes. I don't know if you know it. It is one of the most lucid, comprehensive stories about the Holocaust, and it examines why so many people collaborated either directly or indirectly with the Nazis. And what I wanted to ask you was, can you tell me, in your experience, do you have any insight as to why so many people collaborated with the Nazis who were not Nazis?
Well, there were several reasons. One of them is anti-Semites, number one. Number two, they could get goods and stuff from the Jews for nothing, like the homes or other things that the Jews possessed, like paintings and stuff like that. You know, the Germans took some, but the collaborators also took it. So it's no wonder that some of them were collaborators. You know, they are, and they weren't, as far as them being nice people, they weren't. If they would be nice people, and they wouldn't do things like that. they wouldn't take a lady, beautiful lady that lived with us, and drag her to the police station, but twice a week, and rape her. And she used to come back crying and what they did to her. Who does that? I mean, you got to be crazy to take a girl every 2 times a week or more and rape her. But there's other things that they did, other things that I can't describe them. I can't even talk about them because that's out of people wouldn't understand it. Some of them would get sick if they would hear it. And not only were men doing it, some women did it too.
Anyone have any questions?
What was it like to live in Germany after the war, having those having been like the main people who like perpetrated a lot of?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. We could not live in the Soviet Union because life was not good. Like I described it, you know, he was disorganized, and you couldn't get to anything. You know, you couldn't own anything. You couldn't go to. You were forbidden to go to synagogue or church or mosque or anything. You couldn't do that. They were 100% against religion. So when I came to Germany was still a police state, even after the war. I don't know how it's now, but when I was there, it was a police state. How would you describe it? I'll tell you how. If you live in an apartment and you want to move to the next apartment, you live 1 or 2, you're going to go into 1 or 4. You would have to report to the police and to the housing authority. That I call a police state. So, but I had no choice actually. I had no choice. I didn't like to be there, to be honest with you. But I had a life to live, and I didn't know any other way. And I went to school there. So my brother, as a matter of fact, came to the United States about 10, 11 years before me. But look, you cannot go on hating. You cannot do that. If you go on hating long enough, you will hate yourself. You got to live your life. You know what I mean? You got to look. I never forgot what happened, but it's a different generation now in the first place. In the second place, it's not healthy. Not healthy for me to hate everybody, you know. I don't do that. I'm not hating. But I remember. I don't forget.
Any other questions? Yes, that's your or raise your hand. Ask yourself.
What did you want to join the party, or what happened? Like, why did you want to
No, my brother is alive. He lives in New Rochelle, New York. Does pretty well. And he was not actually the partisans, but he helped the partisans. He helped them by scouting and stuff like that. He was pretty bright. He was brighter than I was. and I was older. He was brighter and more, you know, I was more afraid than he. You know, if I would become a partisan, I don't know what I would do because I was afraid. I was become a partisan, at least they can come and just shoot me or kill me because I got a gun here and I can defend myself somehow. Even though they'll shoot me, but they won't torture me.
Any other questions?
After your just tragic and surprising experiences in Europe, what was the most surprising or welcome or interesting thing that you realized when you came to the U.S.?
But then, yeah, I had a real surprise right away as soon as I got off the plane. I came with my military plane because I worked for the American Army in Germany while I went to school. So so that they put me on an army plane and I came to New York. And the surprise was this: I got out of the plane and no check, nobody checking me, nothing. And like I told you before, that in Germany, if you move one, I don't know, it's hard now, but then, if you moved one number apartment to another, you got to report. Here, I come to the United States, get out of the plane, and I don't know, the plane didn't land in the middle of the airport there. I come out, and I see all of a sudden, I see my brother and his son come to pick me up. And I said to him, I got to report somewhere. He said, don't be foolish. He says, if they want you, they will find you. But that was my surprise, you know. Somebody asked me the right question there.
Any other questions?
That were the times, my friend. I wish they never end, but they did somehow. Okay.
It's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I'm just gonna say a quick word.
I guess.
Thank you. First of all, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Noam. I'm the director here at Towson Hillel, and I just wanted to let you, first of all, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Kidnow. This was remarkable. I also wanted to invite you all to go on our website. There's going to be a recording of the testimony that was given him tonight, uploaded to our website within the next week or so. So that is important to note. And I would welcome all of you to sharing the responsibility of learning more and hearing more testimonies. We have a remarkable opportunity that we do have roughly 300 survivors living in the Baltimore area, and opportunities like the one we had tonight are getting, unfortunately, rarer and rarer. So I would welcome you to read more, learn more, and go and hear more testimonies. I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. If you have any questions, we have our team here. The Hillel team is right in the back. You can see Scott. If you have any questions about any of our upcoming events or any of the upcoming educational programs, you're more than welcome. I want to thank Towson University. I want to thank Dr. Wally Gale, Dr. Chana Bor, but most of all, I want to thank you. Toda raba, Mr. Kidnow.